Hey everybody, Pat Rigsby here, and I have a special guest, Graham Wilkerson. And Graham is the owner of Genesis Sports Performance and Personal Training in Indianapolis. So he's only a couple hours up the road, and man, he has built an absolute powerhouse business. I mean, they've got a couple locations. They're going to do seven figures this year in sports performance, which is definitely kind of an anomaly to say the least, especially in the Midwest, not being, a big franchise organization with a bunch of investors, anything like that. I mean, he has probably cracked the code as well as anybody I've known on building a local sports performance business that's profitable, that's systems driven, that frankly, if you want to talk about something that could be a kind of an example to model for sports performance owners, you'd be hard pressed to find something better than what he's done. So, welcome, Graham.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, it's truly, truly been impressive to watch part of your journey. But let's kind of back up and just talk about how you got into the sports performance industry and maybe the early stages of that.
Yeah. So when I graduated college, I got into medical device sales. Did that for about a year. I was fortunate enough to work for like a small company, and I saw how some of that worked, and I decided, man, if I'm going to be working this hard, I kind of want to do it for myself and follow my passion. So I started actually renting space out of a CrossFit gym. Um, Rented space, had a couple clients. I was actually doing more of just like your general adult fitness. And then I was able to go back to my high school and I became their strength coach just after school. And so I started working with athletes. I really developed a passion doing that. I knew that's the route that I wanted to go. And shortly after that, I opened up a like 1,500 square foot facility across from the school that I was working at. That kind of allowed me to start my initial business. I was able to train those athletes at the school I was working at, and I gradually expanded that location. While I was doing that, I went back to school and was getting my master's degree. And then in 2020, the year of COVID, I partnered up with a competitor. We became business partners, and his business and my business, we had kind of served the same populations. We came from the same communities, so that ignited some extra fuel to the fire. He's since retired. We've started a couple more locations, and that kind of brings us to where we're at now.
Yeah, I mean that's really kind of how I got to know you. That kind of mutual connection with your old partner. I think that was the basis of the original introduction. But I mean, like I mentioned in the intro, I mean you're just a couple hours up the road. Heck, Doug Sperling and I have been up to the facility. It's I mean it's a great spot, but it's not. Some of these, like when you talk about businesses that are doing big numbers and everything else, I think a lot of people think about these D1-esque type facilities that have, a big investor group. They've got, 30,000 square feet of turf and everything else. So talk about your main location a little bit. Unpack, the footprint and some of that stuff.
Yeah. So we have 6,000 square feet at that location. About 5,000 square feet is usable because we have a lobby up front. And, I think our success there has stemmed from, not only just being around for 10 years. We've been there for 10 years. And so being connected in that community has helped a lot. And then just like ruthlessly trying to execute the basics when it comes to development and never straying from that. I mean, in 2020, was COVID, and I actually have some numbers right here because we started working with you guys I started working with you, Pat, in 2021. So in 2020, we did 272 in gross revenue. In 2021, a year after working with you guys, we were at 427. Um, and then in 2022, we shot up to 658. And I think what happened was I joined the IBA. I started doing all the internal marketing. I realized, there's marketing involved to running a sports performance business. I can't just show up every day and train. So I was able to step back out a little bit. And then in 2022, I met Doug and I saw like, man, this guy's my age and he's doing a million out of his facility. It just like really inspired me. Like, hey, I could do the same. And that's when I got all of our systems in place and hired a team, and that really spurred on our growth.
So you mentioned, you've had multiple facilities. I mean, you've got kind of that flagship facility that, is in a solid market in Indianapolis. But I mean, we're not talking about like the most affluent pocket of Indianapolis or whatever else. So it's not like, oh, wait a minute, we're just, targeting all the people rolling in that's parents have private planes and six houses or something like that. I mean, it's a normal market for sports performance. But then you've had a couple other locations. Talk about those for a moment.
Yeah, so I opened up a facility in Madison, Indiana. It's like 2 hours away from Indianapolis. That one, wasn't as successful. I definitely made some mistakes there. Modeling the business around the person that I had running it, which kind of, I wasn't there at all, and it I lost a bit of control over it. At times we didn't see eye to eye on things, so I ended up selling that one. Learned from my mistakes there, and really modeled the next one on our systems, not the person. And the our set, I call it, well, I guess it's our third facility, but it's one of two now. It's in Carmel, and that one has grown immensely. We're about to hit year 2 on that one.
Yeah, so collectively, I mean, in those two spots, you'll do 7 figures this year. You're operating a really system driven business. You're out advertising. It's not just grassroots. I mean, I know you mentioned you've got great inroads in the community. You've built relationships, but what are some of the things that are working for you, have worked, that have allowed you to really do this type of revenue, that have allowed you to see this kind of growth? What are some of the things that you've seen work?
Yeah, so definitely starting all of the organic internal marketing procedures. So going after our reactivations every single month. Our general managers, they're responsible for 40 reactivations each, and we just recycle. Referrals, we have a number. Each general manager is responsible to get 10 referrals each month. Reviews, each general manager is responsible for getting 10 reviews each month, and we track those pretty relentlessly and ensure we're hitting those KPIs, and then we do all of our email campaigns based on a specific offer each and every month. And then we also will run a paid ad every single month that's specific to sports performance. Sometimes that's geared towards athletes that are coming out of seasons, and sometimes it's more of just a general, speed, power type offer. And we never stop marketing. I think in the early stages, I would do some of that, but it would be, oh, this month I really need to try to get back to reactivations, or like our numbers are down, we need to run an ad. And we've just been like relentless in executing that every single month, hitting our KPIs every single month. We launch a Facebook ad uh, every month. We generally will 2 to 2.5 times our investment on that. So being able to do all that and install that into the framework of the business and never stop focusing on that has helped us grow. And I think when I was getting started, I was so ingrained into the training side of things. I was training all the time that I kind of left the marketing on the back burner. But now I think that's one of like our that and retention are our two most important pieces.
So, I mean, you touched on something there that I think is kind of different from not just what a lot of sports performance business owners do, but a lot of business owners that are still trying to kind of turn the corner and, do 20,000, 40,000, $60,000 a month is, you've got a monthly marketing plan that you're going into the upcoming month and you're playing offense, right? You've got a plan on what you're going to do. I mean, you touched on referrals, reactivations, reviews. You touched on ads, but I mean, can you do? A really quick kind of rundown of what one of those monthly marketing plans might look like. All the different kind of channels you may be attacking to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all kind of themed based off the front end offer for the month. So I'll take we're running this 12-week breakaway speed program right now. So we have an email campaign going out to all of our email list based on that breakaway speed program. We have our ad running based on the breakaway speed program. For our reactivations, we're looking at last year, who was with us in October, November, who's not currently in the gym right now. We'd reach out to those athletes. We reconnect, then we tell them about the breakaway speed program, and we offer them 2 free weeks to join the new program. Then we have our social media piece. So we'll have a social proof post showcasing how we've improved an athlete's speed relating back to that front end offer. We'll have educational posts geared towards our front end offer, which is speed in this case. And then we'll have just our organic post talking about the breakaway speed program. And so in addition to that, I always am trying to meet with some sort of coach or team each and every month to you let them know about that program, and then also see if we can gear up any sort of team training or strategic alliance. And so that's kind of the elevator view of the marketing program. And I think the biggest piece is like it's not we do it every quarter. It's like very, very consistent. Every single month we recycle new offer, go do it again.
So one other thing that I know you do that's kind of unique, but has been really powerful for you is this brand guarantee that you guys have. So can you unpack that a little?
Yeah, definitely. So our brand guarantee is essentially an athlete trains with us for 3 months, at least 2 times a week. We guarantee an improvement in peak speed by a mile per hour and vertical jump by 3 inches. And so all of our front end offers, our sales consultations, it's all attached to this brand guarantee. So our athlete comes in, and those are the metrics we test. And at 3 months, we provide a report card for the parents showcasing the results and fulfilling the brand guarantee. And that stemmed from, I had been doing this for 10 years. And when I started, sports performance was more like strength oriented. Like kids wanted to come in and just lift and train. What happened, I think, for the industry is a lot of the high schools or schools got strength and conditioning coaches. So that piece was being fulfilled at schools. And then the other thing I saw was the rise in skill training. We have all sorts of athletes now, but we started very big into football. And the skill training, the 7-on-7 teams, I kind of saw us being like forced out a little bit because you were doing your strength at school, you were going to your skills trainers. And so what I did is I went back and I looked at like when people inquire for our services, like what are the terms the parents are saying? What are they asking for? And so I found like, hey, everybody was asking for speed, agility, vertical jump. And so I based our brand guarantee around that. And now we're known for, the speed component, the explosiveness component, and that allowed us to kind of take back market share because, I mean, every athlete, they want those things. They need to get faster.
I mean, it's simple, but it's brilliant, right? Because so many people, I think, get caught up in, well, this is how I think it should happen, right? Like those kids should train with us. We do a better job with strength than they're doing in school, or they don't need to be practicing 5 days a week and then going to lessons or whatever else. And people get kind of caught up in this utopian viewpoint of, oh, this is what should happen. I'm like, man, the reality is this is what is happening, right? I mean, I think about my younger son. I mean, they lift after school, like 3 days a week, and it's fine. But could he be in an environment that might be even a little bit better? Sure. They've got practice 5 days a week for baseball. They're just wrapping up, and heck, he's had overlapping like 2 days a week of basketball with baseball, and it's like, okay, what gaps still need to be filled? What kind of things can you complement the school strength and conditioning program with? What are the things that people are actually saying, I need to improve at this? And you guys have just honed in on those. And I don't care what showcase or combine you go to, they're going to be measuring speed in some way, shape, or form. And so you're addressing something that's an acute need that they're hyper aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the start too, you hit on that. It was like I felt like it was just a constant, almost fight. Like, hey, your athlete needs to get stronger to get faster. So I'd be like, trying to sell them what they didn't believe that they needed. And same thing with the strength coaches. Well, we're going to give you more individualized attention here. And when I kind of stopped like fighting that battle and I just like accepted the reality like you're talking about, our business grew immensely. Like I reached out to the strength coaches. I said the exact same thing. Hey, we're just trying to fill the buckets that you're not getting done at school. Now we have strength coaches referring out to us because a lot of the other private facilities, they don't have that mentality. And now the sales consult, instead of me trying to have a 30-minute conversation about dynamic correspondence and why you don't need sports specific training, now it's just like, okay, yeah, like we're gonna get your athlete faster, and we're gonna do movements that are specific to the planes that they play in their sport. So just kind of almost leaning in to it rather than trying to fight against it has helped immensely.
I mean, it's so smart, and I think there's a lesson here for all business owners, not just sports performance business owners, is dealing with the circumstances as they are, not as you wish they were, right? I mean, this is the landscape, and kids obviously feel like, oh, I have to train at school or else I'm going to be penalized. I'm going to be viewed as this person who's not a team guy or whatever else. So they feel that pressure, and we don't want to put them in a bad spot. And so that's the circumstances that actually exist. It's like with an adult training business, oh, it'd be great if everybody measured out their food and did all the recovery and additional physical activity stuff you want them to do between sessions, but let's face it, they got busy lives, they got a lot going on. So how do we make the best of the circumstances as they actually are? And this is, I mean, an absolute perfect example of doing that. So we've talked a little bit about marketing. We've talked about how you've made the most of the sports performance landscape as it is today. Well, you also talked about kind of moving your way out of being the kind of default coach for all hours on the floor. Talk about how you've kind of delegated and elevated the coaching stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had initially had my, I guess you'd call them performance assistant coaches, and I was doing the majority of the training. We would have like our kind of base training program, but what I recognized is that no one ever falls into that every day. There's some extenuating circumstance. So an athlete walks in and, oh, I sprained my ankle at gym class, or they come in and, hey, I got a game tonight. Whatever it was, I noticed I was on the floor and I was just like the guy getting everybody that didn't fall into like the perfect kind of situation, right? And I realized fast, like when I would try to be getting out of there to work, or be with my family, I would have all this anxiety, like, oh well, what if Johnny comes in and I know he's got that hamstring? Like, what do we like? My guys aren't trained up on that. So what I did was I immediately made like training tracks. So we have like our base off season program for high school. We have our youth program. We have our program for athletes that are in season. We have our program for athletes that are lifting at school. And we kind of tied all these that it can be ran in a group session. And the tweaks are just, they're small, so it doesn't require running an entirely different session. And so, that was one of the first things I did that helped kind of get me out of coaching every single day. And then I just elevated my performance coaches that I felt like had shown the best, not only talent with training, but also just being able to take on extra responsibility, interested in growing. So I created two general manager positions. And so now they're really responsible for the sales, the atmosphere, the culture. They're the head coach at each facility, and then we have performance coaches under them. But we do a weekly team meeting every single week, and we just are ensuring that everybody continues to evolve and stay up on the coaching, because I think that service and the coaching is the biggest reason why we're successful. And we have a staff of it's 11 now, so it's definitely we got to stay on top of it because we're bringing on new coaches all the time.
So obviously things are going great. You've talked about some of the things that I think are foundational in your continued growth and improvement. And now you're sitting in a pretty cool spot. I mean, you're in the boardroom group that Doug and I run. We're collaborating, you kind of leading the way with me and Doug on an area exclusive licensing program that potentially can evolve into a sports performance franchise. You're investing in real estate. I mean, you've set a pretty good foundation. We talked about kind of quote unquote wealthy gym owners. I mean, you've turned a local single site sports performance business into a multi-location foundation for multiple revenue streams, long-term financial security, wealth building. Talk about what's next for you.
Yeah. I've been training for so long, right? And when I kind of evolved into training the staff, I realized quickly how much I liked that, just seeing their success. And one of my goals for, we always do our goal setting, right? I look back at 2023, it was get an Airbnb and begin coaching other sports performance gym owners. So I've been able to start that this year, and it's been amazing. It's like reinvigorated my love for coaching, and it's just in a I've always loved coaching, but it's just in a different sense. And I think there's somewhat of a gap in the sports performance realm. I know there's a ton of mentorships and programs for the adult fitness side of things. I know that there's not a ton on the sports performance side, so I've loved being able to work with the current licensees that we have now and be able to help them grow their businesses. And my hope is to continue our licensee program and evolve that into the franchise. That's kind of where my focus is now, and I look forward to pursuing that.
Well, I mean, you couple that with the Airbnb thing you alluded to. I mean, some of this is just like, man, you're turning these goals into reality, and that's just consistent action and being. I mean, like we talked about very early on in this, playing offense. I mean, you're going out and making things happen. So, yeah, man, Graham, this has been awesome. I'm so glad we got to do this episode. I mean, I get to see it, every week in boardroom or through what's happening with the license, that sort of stuff. But it's cool to be able to share this with other business owners that hopefully not only are incredibly inspired by it, but they took away some practical nuggets that they can go put into action in their own business. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. And I think, thanks for all the mentorship along the way. I think our boardroom group and being able to be surrounded by like-minded business owners and action takers, like having that call every single week, it inspires you to continue pushing, right?
So if somebody wants to connect with you to just learn more about what you're doing, learn more about, how you've been able to make the leap that you've had, the license, whatever else, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, the best way, if you guys want to shoot me an email, it's super simple. It's Graham, Graham, at genesissportsperformance.com. And then I'd love to hop on a call and learn about what you're doing and see if I can help at all.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you a bunch. And, this has been a great episode. I think, there have been a lot of things that certainly transcend sports performance. So I appreciate it a bunch. And this is Pat and Graham signing off with another episode of the Fitness Business School.